News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Well, with just a day to go before his scheduled resignation, Cache County Clerk and Auditor Jess Bradfield is now reconsidering that decision. Those second thoughts are coming, he said, as a result of numerous local citizens and officials urging Bradfield to stay the course in his county post. Chris Booth, the former chair of the Cache County Republican Party, said he would wholeheartedly support Jess if he reconsidered his resignation. He noted that the climate in the county government is now much different and far more productive than it was at the time when Jess announced that he was going to resign. Bradfield's abrupt decision to resign was announced at a county council meeting 90 days ago after council members had more or less resigned themselves to dealing with his previous decision to revert to a part-time status as county clerk and auditor. At that meeting on December 13th, Bradfield said that he had accomplished every promise that he had made to voters and that it was time for him to step aside. We are scheduled to have County Clerk and Auditor Jess Bradfield in studio on KBNU's For the People program next hour. KBNU News Time is 4:06. KBNU weather for tonight, mostly cloudy skies, low in the mid-20s. 40% chance of rain in the afternoon on Tuesday. Cloudy, mid-40s, south winds 10 to 20 miles an hour in the afternoon. Breezy with rain, high temperature in the low 30s on Tuesday night. It's been to 40. In fact, it's 40 degrees right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by Napa Auto Parts. Stop on by Napa Auto Parts during the gold filter sale going on through Wednesday at your 5 Preston to Providence locations of Napa Auto Parts.
We start each new year filled with hope and prosperity for things to come. At Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology, it's no different. Dr. Daines is so grateful to get to call Cache Valley home and continue to offer his services to the wonderful people that live in our beautiful valley. He wants to help you start your new year off right by improving your hearing, which over the course of time will help improve your quality of life. Give them a call at 435-753-4327 or 753-HERE to schedule an appointment, or you can visit them online at cachevalleyhearing.com.
KBNU News Time is 4:07. This year's Strengthening Families Training Institute in Boise is highlighting the importance of positive experiences for children. Robert Segi is a pediatrician at Tufts Medical Center's Floating Hospital for Children in Boston and the conference's keynote speaker. He helped develop the Healthy Outcomes from Positive Experiences, or HOPE, framework.
Our goal is to transform the care of children from one that focuses on deficits and problems to one that begins by understanding and supporting sources of family and individual strengths and stamina.
Ashley Stallings is head of the Upper Valley Child Advocacy Center, which is in Rigby and serves southeast Idaho. She is a trained HOPE facilitator. Stallings says Rigby experienced a school shooting in 2021 that highlighted the need to focus on positive experiences.
There's always a way to provide these positive childhood experiences to these children, and they don't have to be big, huge things. They're as simple as listening to a child.
Segi says the pandemic has been hard for children, especially their need to feel engaged in their community when people couldn't gather. But he says there was another side to the experience.
Families were remarkably resilient during the pandemic, so that parents and kids spent a lot of time together, did a lot of fun things together, and actually, right at the moment, families grew closer.
Segi says the HOPE framework focuses on 4 kinds of experiences: stable and secure relationships, safe environments, community engagement, and opportunities for emotional growth. The conference, presented by the Idaho Children's Trust Fund and Prevent Child Abuse Idaho, takes place Tuesday and Wednesday. A man died after a crash on I-15 south of Santaquin. Trooper Mike Alexander with the Utah Highway Patrol said southbound I-15 was closed at mile marker 240 while they investigated on Sunday. Officials responded to the scene just after 2:30 p.m. when they say a white Tesla lost control in slushy conditions and left the highway to the right. The Tesla then reportedly struck a cable barrier and rebounded across the lanes into the median. Press release said shortly after, a PT Cruiser also lost control and spun into the median at the same location. The Cruiser struck the parked Tesla with its rear end. The woman who was driving the Cruiser was taken to a hospital for injuries. The male passenger of the PT Cruiser suffered fatal injuries. The identity of the man was not initially released. KBNU News Time is 4:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
The local news source. News Talk KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
Imagine your wedding day. Elegant, simple, yet stunning, stress-free. It's your day. It's all about you. Whether you're looking for small and simple or have a grander idea, the Riverwoods Conference Center will accommodate your every need. Choose the inside ballroom elegance or outside along the natural decor of the beautiful Logan River. A Riverwoods event planner will work personally with you to make sure your event is exactly how you've envisioned it. The Riverwoods Conference Center, where your happily ever after begins. Google Riverwoods Conference Center or call 750-5151.
If your clothes are taking too long to dry, don't run out and buy a new dryer without first checking the vent. Clothes dryer vents can get clogged with lint, and birds can even build a nest in them. If your clothes are taking too long to dry, simply check the outside of your vent, and if you don't feel a swift amount of air, it's probably clogged. Simply clean the vent, and your dryer should work like new. Or, if your vent is too long or too difficult to clean yourself, then give the Duct Hunter a call at 770-4813.
Hey, it's me, your cell phone. We need to talk about something serious. I know you love me, I know you like using me wherever you are, but I feel like this isn't working out when you're driving. I know you may think that it's possible to focus both on me and the road, but I just don't feel the same way. I think we should spend time away from each other when you're driving. It's for the best.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
If you've lost someone to suicide, you know the feelings: isolation, abandonment, anger. But you should also know that you're not alone. 91% of Utahns say they've been impacted by the loss of a family member, friend, coworker, or neighbor to suicide. And there is support for those left behind. Find resources and connect with others who have similar experiences by visiting liveonutah.org. September is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. Learn what you can do at liveonutah.org. Supported by the Strong Auto Group.
Are you blind or losing vision? Do you feel like it's controlling your life and your decisions, possibly limiting you? Well, I've been there. But through the National Federation of the Blind, I have learned that I don't have to allow blindness to define me, and you don't have to either. To learn more and find the support you need, simply visit blind.org. That's blind.org. The National Federation of the Blind. Live the life you want.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have 2 guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter in the studio as well. Monday, March 13th. We have quite a show lined up for everyone today. Cache County Clerk and Auditor Jess Bradfield will be in the second hour of the show. He'll start things off with us at 5 o'clock. A couple of different reasons for this. One, I got a great question from a listener on the future of the county clerk's office in light of the audits, which had not been a thing for decades and then have been very aggressively a thing since Bradfield's election in the county clerk's office. We've learned a lot about county government, a lot of taxpayer expense that can be saved just by making some, in most cases, minor changes recommended by the audits. And it is it's something that should happen all the time, in my opinion. So what is the future of the county clerk's office? And what has Bradfield learned over the last 2+ years of auditing that he could advise whoever takes his job? If you remember, the county clerk went part-time in the fall, said his office could be run that way. It would save taxpayers a lot of money, more than half his salary, and works part-time as clerk. And we'll see how that works through the coming election because that seems to be working and may be a permanent thing in the county clerk's office. Bradfield had planned to resign the position at the end of March, but he does tell us that he has a bit of an announcement today for us as well. So that's coming up at 5 o'clock. Also, this angried up my blood. We got an email over the weekend from a listener with some photos included, shenanigans up one of the canyons here in Cache Valley over the weekend, and why someone would do this. I've posted the pictures to our Facebook page, but she sent quite a lengthy email telling the story of what happened to her and her kids when they went up to go sleigh riding at a place they'd visited several times through the winter to sleigh ride, but unfortunately found themselves kind of stuck on a road with no place to turn around, where someone had decided to burn a bunch of pallets and furniture in a bonfire over the weekend, leaving the road covered with, she describes, 2-inch screws and nails, and no choice for them. She said she did her best to kind of scrape them out of the way, but still had to drive over the spot of the bonfire in order to get up to a spot to turn around. And then they spent the rest of the afternoon driving back out to pavement to change the tires, and driving out of the canyon on one donut and a flat tire. And she says in her letter, needless to say, the kids didn't get to sleigh ride that day because some kids or some uncaring adults maybe decided to go out and just do something awful. I've posted the pictures that she sent along with the email to our Facebook page, and we'll talk about it more later on in the show. We'll get things started here in a moment with some headlines and smooth jazz, but ahead of that, Bill, I just want to thank you and everyone else who forecasts or reads weather in Cache Valley for the weather. It feels like spring out there.
Yeah, I put in a little word for you at the weather service, and they were able to pull some spring strings, and yeah.
I'm enjoying it. Earlier today, I also enjoyed following online a town hall that was hosted by Silicon Slopes. It involved lawmakers, including United States Senator Mitt Romney, who had some trouble unmuting his mic. People were very frustrated. They couldn't hear what he had to say. We have another scenario where you have United States senators here in Utah, Senator Lee and Senator Romney, on opposite sides of an issue. And Romney is very vocal about this one. It's a story you may have followed over the weekend. It involves a Silicon Valley here in Utah, but related. Silicon Valley Bank is the name of the bank, and echoes of 2008. Not to that extent. We're not looking at a situation where this is going to trigger a global meltdown of the financial sector like the 2008 implosion of the banking system and the housing system right after it, or the housing environment right after it. Nothing like that, but still a pretty big deal. This is a bank that exclusively lent to startups, to tech businesses, which has come to mean a lot of different things. It used to mean, someone built something or developed something, and that led to the creation of a business. And oftentimes to get that off the ground, they'd need some funding, sometimes a lot of funding. Now tech means, well, for example, in this category, you have these companies that have popped up where they're basically creating a website. Innovative, right? They're basically creating a website to let you order food at a 30% markup, and then they go to the restaurant's website and order the food for you and send it to your home. So we're calling that tech now, too. So these weren't all, businesses that deserve, accolades for what they're doing. Sometimes they're borderline scammy. Other times, though, they are inventing things and disrupting things in a way that have led to, vast changes in economies in a positive way. And the bank that backs at least a large number of these startup opportunities imploded. And it imploded, it looks like, because, venture capitalists are sometimes not bright. And they triggered their own bank run over the weekend or over the last few days of last week. This could have huge impact here in Utah, thousands of jobs at stake, in that many of these companies, will soon, hopefully, but when this started late last week, many of these companies were looking at a situation where they didn't have any money for payroll. They weren't making money yet. New businesses that were riding off of, bank loans, startup loans, weren't going to be able to make payroll next week or this week even for some of them. So it's a big deal, to say the least. But there's a lot to it. And honestly, frustration from the public out there, understandably, because this, like in 2008, this is a bailout scenario. No matter how anyone in the tech industry wants to spin it, which they are trying very hard to spin it, because remember, a lot of these folks, very prominent members of the tech industry, were very loud libertarians up until last Thursday, and then suddenly they definitely wanted some government involvement. But one of the problems here is that the Silicon Valley Bank is being treated like a special bank, but treating the Silicon Valley Bank like a special bank is kind of how this happened. Some relaxing of regulations and some playing loose with their own capital triggered, a panic among venture capitalists, who then started yanking their money instead of just sitting tight to see what happened, and caused a bank run. And it potentially could have taken Silicon Slopes with it. Thousands of jobs here in Utah could have been at stake. We've learned since then that the feds say they're going to guarantee all of the loans. They're going to back all of the loans. There is a fund they have to do that. It doesn't require an act of Congress like the gigantic bailouts in 2008 and 9 and 10, but the TARP bailouts. It's nothing like that, but this, if anyone tells you this isn't a taxpayer expense, they are fooling you, because that fund will have to be replenished. And how do you think that fund is eventually replenished? Not all at once through congressional funding, but this is, something everyone with a bank account pays into. So your money is going to bail out the Silicon Valley Bank through a pre-existing federal mechanism. That's a good thing, but now some questions being raised of, okay, what happens next? And even Governor Cox just taking it on the chin over the weekend for his tweets saying we should absolutely guarantee these loans and make sure these businesses can meet payroll. Again, we're talking thousands of jobs that could have just not existed by the end of this week or early next. So the governor, of course, is going to say we shouldn't let that happen. People not happy about that, though, right? Whether it's the reality or not happy about it. So we'll talk about that and what was said today at this nearly 3-hour-long town hall that included Mark Headley of the Utah Bankers Association, Senate President, Speaker of the House, Senator Mitt Romney, leaders in the tech industry, Ryan Smith of Qualtrics, owner of the Jazz, many others on hand for this, and they were scrambling, to say the least. So we'll talk about that later on in the hour. On the other side, we'll officially get the show started with your headlines and smooth jazz right after this.
Jessup Insurance invites you to attend a friendly, no-cost educational Medicare meeting Wednesday, March 15th. Jessup Insurance will answer any questions and simplify the entire Medicare process, all while enjoying a yummy dessert. Wednesday, 7 p.m., March 15th, Jessup Insurance. Call 213-3200 for more information, or stop at 530 West, 465 North in Providence. Wednesday, March 15th.
Jessup Insurance and Retirement Services. Let us guide you.
If your saving for retirement approach involves the phrase, "I'll get around to it someday," Edward Jones can help. When it comes to meeting your goals, time can be on your side. And there's no better time than now to get started toward your retirement goals. Edward Jones Financial Advisors can help. Stop by one of the 7 Edward Jones offices in Cache Valley. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. A reminder, Cache County Clerk and Auditor Jess Bradfield will be joining us at 5 o'clock to answer a listener's question about the future of the clerk's office and audits, how they can best be used to improve county government, save taxpayer money, things that listener wants to know what Bradfield has learned over the last couple of years of aggressive auditing, something that hadn't been done for decades here in Cache County until Bradfield's election a couple of years ago. Also, he tells us he has an announcement. He was set to resign the office officially end of March, and a special election would then take place. A rumor going around is that he may have changed his mind, but we'll hear from him specifically. Now working part-time as the clerk, something that the council was hesitant to approve, but finally did last December. And it appears that is working, which I'll be honest with you, I won't ask Bradfield this because I don't want him to have to throw any of his coworkers or peers under the bus. But it does raise a question, I think. If this is working in the clerk's office, are there other offices that could be part-time? Just something to ponder, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. Bradfield will be with us at 5 with, again, he says he has an announcement, and so you'll hear that first here on our airwaves. Right now, we'll get things officially underway with your headlines and smooth jazz. This day in history, Monday, March 13th, 2023, way back in 1639. The reason this is noteworthy to me is I didn't know it was this old. 1639, Harvard College was named. It was named after a member of the clergy, a clergyman, John Harvard, and it is that old of a school. Honestly, can't believe it. This day in 1906, Susan B. Anthony, a famous activist through what was known as the suffragette movement, died on this day in 1906. This day in 1921, Mongolia, under a nefarious historical figure, Black Baron, declared its independence from China, and setting off kind of a domino effect that still holds strong today. Famous birthdays today. FBI Director William Casey, former, of course, he's long gone, but he was a famous FBI director. He was born on this day in 1913. Neil Sedaka, singer and songwriter, born on this day in 1939. Still working today, William H. Macy, actor, was born on this day in 1950. And for bass fans, well, first off, for U2 fans, it's Adam Clayton's birthday. For baseball fans, Will Clark was born on this day in 1964. In the headlines today, we'll talk about this more, but as the Silicon Valley Bank collapse played out over the last 4 or 5 days, Zions Bank stock plummeted in the wake. The Utah Bank CEO is putting a message out to assure everyone your money is safe. That's what makes this whole scenario unique, though it is the implosion of a bank similar to what led to those huge bailouts necessary in 2008, 9, and 10, the TARP bailouts. This is just one bank, and there's a mechanism in place to back the loans as this bank is sold off at auction by the federal government after its implosion. Just over the last few days, bankers everywhere, including the CEO of Zions Bank, wanting to remind everybody this is not a banking crisis. It's really bad for those who are banking with Silicon Valley Bank, but and those who are running the bank. Hopefully they see some scrutiny after all of this, but your money is okay. Zions Bank CEO wants everyone to remember. Utah among 18 states where it's actually cheaper to build than to buy a home. This actually came as a surprise to both lawmakers who debated this a lot during the session, but also to anyone who has maybe been out there looking into this, building a home or adding on to your home or buying a new home. It's not been something easy or cheap to do for a long time. But look at existing properties and construction in general showed that it is actually cheaper to build a home than to buy one in Utah. One of only 18 states where that's true. There's a study done by Storage Cafe. Utah comes in as the fourth most cost-effective state for home building, falling behind only Hawaii, California, and Colorado. The average total building cost in Utah, including land and construction and all of that, is roughly $500,000. $538,000 was the average price, the study showed. And that's about $100,000 less than the average single-family home is currently listing for, where the current average is about $630,000. Which, I mean, that's still a lot, right? The Oscars last night, I don't know if anyone watched. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once kind of swept the whole thing. But if you may have caught this, it was just in the audience. Morgan Freeman there with a big old box on his hand. People got curious, and it turns out he was in a car accident recently, damaged his hand, almost lost his hand. And doctors, surgeons were able to, after 11 surgeries, were able to rebuild the hand, and they believe he will make a full recovery, meaning that he will actually have full usage of the hand. So he went from almost losing the hand to keeping the hand, and also after, again, 11 surgeries, will be able to have full use of the hand. He explained that when asked why he kept it under wraps. I love this. Freeman said, I didn't think anybody would care other than my family. I wasn't trying to hide it, but he will have full use of that hand, and I kind of admire his humility there. But story in the Deseret News today, diving into the bins. Goodwill Outlet is what it's called, and Goodwill Outlet shoppers are, according to the story, quote, taking thrifting to the next level. This is a different kind of bin diving. This isn't trash bin diving. This is basically diving through what is considered junk by certain textile industries. Everything from quilt fabrics to tiles to construction supplies in general that have expired or sat on the shelf too long. They end up somewhere, right? Also, clothing brands like Nike, Adidas, even Patagonia, one of the most expensive brands out there, can be found through this Goodwill shopping experience. The Goodwill Outlet, it's called The Bins by those who love it, is selling everything by the pound. So it's $1.99 per pound for the first 25 pounds of whatever you walk out of with. You put it in a bin, and they literally just weigh it. And then as you get over 25 pounds, the price steadily decreases. So it's in your interest to actually pile it up, basically.
I think my wife loves Goodwill. She wishes we had a Goodwill here.
Well, it's an amazing thing. They do, by the way, they do have pop-up shops on Amazon, and they do sell clothing online, but the Goodwill Outlet is actually the way to do it. If you want to check it out, there is a couple of ways you can do that. It's intimidating for new people, according to the CFO of the nonprofit running the Goodwill outlet. It says it can be intimidating. This is a giant warehouse, and there's no order to it whatsoever. Things are ordered by when they came in and how long they've been sitting there. But, he said, their TikTok account has been exploding, and they've seen more and more people coming in every single day that they are open, at least. And even had a story about a person recently who left with 713 pounds of clothing, quilt material, fabrics, just some amazing stuff. And some great photos in this story as well.
No doubt had some help in getting that into the vehicle, I would imagine. Or
that's right.
Or truck.
Yeah, you have to be prepared for that, right? This happens only every Saturday morning in Salt Lake City, called the Goodwill Outlet. And it is apparently catching on. So if you want to dive into the bins, check out the Deseret News story. Those are your headlines in smooth jazz, and we'll be back with more of For the People after these local headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:36, and the news is brought to you by U&I Furniture. Investigators have now determined the cause of Thursday night's deadly home explosion in Cache Junction. Evidence indicates that damage to the home's fuel line system caused a propane leak that was inadvertently ignited just as the Mullen family was sitting down for dinner. Cache County Fire Chief Rod Hammer said the propane gas pooled in the basement and the explosion occurred when the propane came in contact with a competent ignition source. Propane gas is heavier than air and will pool in low areas such as basements. Firefighters and law enforcement were called to the Mullins home near 5670 North SR 23 right after the explosion was reported. The home was almost completely gone except for a pile of debris and the foundation. Flames were also coming from the rubble. Joshua Mullen was outside the home when the first crews arrived. He suffered multiple burns on his arms, chest, and face. He was transported to a Cache Valley hospital by paramedics, where he is currently sedated and has a long recovery ahead of him. Karen Mullen could be heard yelling for help inside what was left of the house. She was rescued and transported to Logan Regional Hospital, suffering from multiple fractures and burns to her body. Doctors later transferred her to McKay Hospital for additional care. John Mullen was found deceased just after midnight that night. He had been thrown from the home at the time of the blast and died. Hammer said that they believe the home's fuel line was damaged by snow and ice that had slid off the roof. He extended his condolences to the Mullen family and wished the victims a speedy recovery. A GoFundMe page has been set up for the family. And Nevada lawmakers are considering a significant shift in water use for Las Vegas, one of the driest major metropolitan areas in the U.S. The water agency managing the city's Colorado River water supply is seeking authority to limit what comes out of residents' taps. Democratic Assemblyman Howard Watts of Las Vegas says a sweeping omnibus bill under consideration is a worst-case scenario plan to ensure drinking water, basic health, and safety are prioritized during dire times. The bill would give the agency the ability to cap single-family residential water in southern Nevada to about 160,000 gallons annually. The average family uses about 130,000 gallons, meaning the largest water users could be targeted. And a former legislative intern is suing a lawmaker convicted of raping her and one of his colleagues for releasing her name and launching a harassment campaign. The woman, who uses the pseudonym Jane Doe in the federal lawsuit, was just 19 when she reported that then Representative Aaron Von Ellinger raped her at his Boise, Idaho apartment in 2021. In the lawsuit, Doe says Von Ellinger and former Representative Priscilla Giddings retaliated by releasing her name and lying about her. Doe is seeking unspecified monetary damages. KVNU News Time is 4:39.
Most people who buy from UNI Furniture are repeat customers. They come back again and again. So it's important to UNI to sell furniture with value and quality. And UNI loves what they do. They support local manufacturers and American-made brands. UNI's line of Southern Motion specializes in reclining furniture. Best Brand Furniture offers more petite styles. And UNI just added Klosner, who has a wide range of options and takes lots of special orders. It's a family-owned four-generation furniture store where value and quality is and always has been offered. That's why it's always a better buy at UNI Furniture, downtown Logan.
KVNU weather, mostly cloudy tonight, low in the mid-20s, 40% chance of rain in the afternoon on Tuesday, cloudy mid-40s for the high. South winds 10 to 20 miles an hour in the afternoon. Breezy with rain Tuesday night, south winds 15 to 25 miles an hour, decreasing to 10 to 20 after midnight. Then rain Wednesday morning, rain and snow likely in the afternoon with some accumulations possible. It's been 41 today. It's 37 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by the Duct Hunter. They remind you to change your furnace filter every 3 months. Your furnace will run more efficiently. To clean your ducts, call 435-770-4813. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com. Let's get the closing numbers on Wall Street now from Edward Jones.
This is Rochelle Hanks bringing you the Daily Financial Market Report on behalf of financial advisor Tron Arnold and Edward Jones for Monday, March 13th. Last week, Silicon Valley Bank became the biggest U.S. lender to fail since the global financial crisis in 2007 and 8, raising concerns about other banks and financial system more broadly. While confidence in the near term is shaken, we think comparisons with the global financial crisis are misplaced based on, 1, the uniqueness of Silicon Valley Bank's situation, and 2, U.S. Bank's much stronger financial position from a decade ago. Silicon Valley Bank had a very concentrated customer base with its deposits coming from startup companies that receive funding from venture capital firms. Those deposits more than tripled between the end of 2019 and the first quarter of 2022, driven by a boom in funding during an era of zero interest rates and excitement about fast-growing but unprofitable tech startups. Today, U.S. equities closed lower. The Dow closed down 91 points at 31,819. The Nasdaq closed up 50 points at 11,189, and the S&P closed down 6 points at 3,856. And in the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 3.54%. In stocks of local interest, Thermo Fisher is down $2.27 to $541.56. Home Depot is up 21 cents to $286.52. Autoliv is down $2.12 to $89.57. Lowe's is up 89 cents to $197.55. Walmart is up 40 cents to $137.37. Nucor is down $3.45 to $155.43. Coca-Cola is up 60 cents to $59.81. Kroger is down 25 cents to $46.85. And General Electric is down $2.03 to $88.97. In commodity markets, the price of crude oil was down $2.22 at $74.46, and the spot price of gold was up $51.70 to $1,918.90. This has been today's Financial Market Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Tron Arnold, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice at 1202 South Highway 89 in Logan. If you would like additional information, please contact any of our 7 Edward Jones offices in Logan, Providence, and Smithfield. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
At Adams Wealth Advisors, they believe that successful wealth management is all about planning. And whether you've done a lot of planning or a little, Adams Wealth Advisors is here to help. If you're transitioning a business, searching for the most up-to-date tax strategies, need help managing investments, or need help with estate planning, Adams Wealth Advisors has your back. Visit adamswealthadvisors.com. That's adamswealthadvisors.com for more information or to schedule an appointment.
If you're interested in the exciting world of broadcasting, the Utah Broadcasters Association invites you to their annual broadcast job fair on Wednesday, March 15th. Discover a wide range of broadcasting opportunities in radio and TV, from announcing and sales to engineering and news. The job fair runs from 9 a.m. to noon at the Union Ballroom on the University of Utah campus. Pre-register at our station website or at utahbroadcasters.com. The Utah Broadcaster Job Fair is brought to you in part by the Cache Valley Media Group and the Utah Broadcasters Association.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. I'm working on posting this. We actually got a call from another listener saying that he had actually noticed and taken some photos of the same thing happening right in a roadway where you're kind of forced to drive this time of year because of the snow. Oftentimes not a place to turn around, where some kids, or as the woman who sent the original email and photos in to us over the weekend, which I'm working on posting to our Facebook page now, they've done it in a spot where you're forced to drive over it to get to a spot to turn around. Man says he noticed the same thing out in the Newton Dam area recently and took some photos himself. He says he'll share on the Facebook page. The story again of this mom took her kids up sleigh riding and says instead of sleigh riding, they got to watch mom limp the car out of the canyon on flat tires till they got to pavement where she could put at least the donut on one tire, drive out of the canyon in the van with one donut, one flat tire, and two tires with screws in them, but not flat. Because some kids, or as she says, worse, adults, decided to go up and burn some furniture right in a roadway to a popular trail, snowmobiling, and sleigh riding spot at Blacksmith Fork Canyon. She included photos with this, and you can see, that there isn't much space for a person to go around this, and in that portion of the road, impossible to turn around. So she said she did her best to kick everything out of the way and still ended up with screws in all the tires, two flat tires. She says also in her email when she got to the tire shop, they told her that someone else had already been in and said they'd likely picked up screws in the same spot. And as the photos show, there are signs, no burning, no pallet burning, no shooting, but you can see shotgun shells all around and what looks like, this wasn't a pallet. This was someone in a pickup truck headed up there with furniture in the back, and that's bad enough to do that. But then to decide to have the bonfire right where everyone else is going to have to drive the next day or during the week, that's just someone isn't bright. This listener says she'd like the county and the Forest Service, or maybe just a clever fellow resident to set up some trail cams and see if they can get a shot of the pickup truck or the license plate because, this is actually against the law. There is actually a pretty hefty fine associated with this kind of thing. But yeah, just beyond inconsiderate to do it where others are going to have to drive. And she sent pictures of the screws that were pulled out of her tires. And she says in the email, instead of getting to sleigh ride that day, my kids all bundled up and ready to go, hot chocolate in the thermos and everything. Instead, they got to watch Mom limp the car back to pavement where we could change to the donut, thanks to a passerby for their help, and then limp the rest of the way out of the canyon on the main road with still a flat tire and flashers on. Me and my kids, ruined day. Someone should pay. That is sad. And posting these photos to our Facebook page. We do have a caller on the line. We were talking during the headlines of Smooth Jazz and before about the SVB, Silicon Valley Bank implosion over the last few days that has every state panicked and every bank panicked too. Banks are panicked because they are worried this is going to trigger a ripple effect bank run like we saw in the crisis of 2008 and 2009. There's no reason to do that. Your money is safe. This is basically a bank that was treated as special by the government and by the rules, and then they acted like they were special, and get this, it blew up in their innovating faces. And now a bunch of tech companies here in Utah and throughout the country were worried, aren't worried anymore after an announcement from the Fed yesterday, but they were worried they wouldn't even be able to make payroll this week. Thousands of jobs could have been lost. Though the announcement said this bailout isn't going to happen at taxpayer expense, it still is. The backing of these loans that the Silicon Valley Bank was holding and then couldn't back anymore because just a bunch of really, really bad at banking venture capitalists and decisions within the bank itself. They imploded. The federal government is going to have to back those loans. It won't require an act of Congress, and that's how they're getting away with the it won't cost taxpayers a dime thing. But the way they're doing this is there's a fund for this. That fund will be depleted, maybe not entirely, but at least to a large extent, backing these loans. And that fund will have to be replenished somehow. And who do you think does that? Well, it's you that didn't make bad decisions with your money like this bank did and the venture capitalists who were backing it did. So yet again, we're saving the people who are supposed to be the smartest people in the room. It's frustrating. The public isn't happy about this. It's unfortunately necessary. Again, we're talking thousands of jobs here in Utah that could evaporate overnight if they can't make payroll this week or next. The governor taking some heat for coming out early saying that, these loans should be made good. But he's right. Again, it's just, but I understand it's so distasteful. And these are the same people that have been lecturing everybody for years on how the government should just get out of their way and let them do their thing, their magical, innovative thing, which oftentimes is just a website where they're charging you a 30% markup to buy food for you that you could just go to the restaurant site itself and buy yourself. That's the kind of innovation a lot of these companies are doing. And I don't know. It's very frustrating, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And Mitch wants to weigh in on that. Mitch, your thoughts?
Yeah, just remember the way that fund gets refunded. It's fees that the banks are charged annually.
Sure.
So it is an insurance fee that they're paying. So, yes, I guess you could say the money's coming from us, but the money would be coming from us whether or not the money come out of this fund.
Yeah.
That's kind of how that works.
Yeah, either way.
It's not like we're going to be paying extra to refill it. It's money that's already being paid.
Yeah. That's a
big one, and this is the part
that's a better way to
wanted
put
call
it.
in about. The reason I wanted to call in is, you can see just the difference between an actual fiscal conservative and a guy that doesn't have a clue. Mitt Romney's saying we need to back this because we need, for the people that are, borrowed that need to do the payroll and stuff, not the people who screwed up. We need to back those loans. Versus Mike Lee making fun of it when Mike Lee's one of the ones that voted to deregulate it in the first place.
Yeah, Lee is
he's proven he doesn't know how money works.
Yeah, he's kind of taking it on the nose for this one too.
He better.
Yeah,
But then again, he walked away from a mortgage, so what does he care?
That's kind of how everybody's going after him online, at least. But Lee's trying to walk back. I think Lee saw, and here's the thing about Senator Lee that I think everybody needs to understand right now. Senator Lee, because of some choices of his own, has lost a lot of influence in Washington, D.C. Specifically, he got himself booted, and this is petty, I agree, of McConnell, but Mitch McConnell booted him from an important committee. And so Lee currently serves on he doesn't really have any power in the Senate. And Lee, I think, has seen an opportunity to kind of become the Senate version of the House's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Greene is somebody who has been nothing but a lightning rod and a bomb thrower since her election, and then that worked. She was able to exact an agreement from someone who really wanted to be Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, to get assigned to some important committees. And the only leverage she had is she had a huge Twitter mob. She could make so much trouble for Kevin McCarthy and leadership in general with that Twitter mob, and that worked. It's awful that that's where we're at. But long story short, I think that's what Senator Lee is doing. I think Senator Lee is thinking if he can build up a noise-making machine like Greene has in the House, that he could then, that gives him some leverage to say, put me on an important committee or I'm going to make so much trouble. That's my theory. I have no reason to believe this other than he set up that based Mike Lee personal account, and then he's operated it very much like Marjorie Taylor Greene has operated hers. And sometimes he hasn't thought things through. It's got him in trouble already, even though it's only a few months old. So that's where he said this, and it was a bomb-throwing thing, and it was touching on something that I think all of us feel, which is, this is distasteful. We are, as Mitch explained, he explained it much better than I did. This is the fund that will be used to back these loans from this bank that imploded by making bad decisions, and venture capitalists that to try and save their own money, yank their money out one after another over the last few days, causing a run on this bank. They could have just sat on it and said, it'll be okay. because the FDIC will back, and there's this mechanism in place. Instead, they all thought, well, I'm saving my money. And they all yanked their money out of this bank, and it imploded. It took less than 24 hours. Now they're trying to blame Twitter. They're saying, oh, everybody's talking about this on Twitter, and that's what caused the bank run. No, it was venture capitalists talking to each other, and they're bad at banking. And yet we keep calling them geniuses. This is literally what happened. And so Senator Lee, I think, saw an opportunity to tap into that populism a little bit and say, this is awful. We shouldn't be doing this. And I don't remember how he worded it. But he was trying to tap into that populism that Marjorie Taylor Greene in the House has made work for her. And this one kind of blew up in his face because it turns out it's a far more serious matter. Turns out we're talking about thousands of jobs in his home state. And then Senator Romney is there on the other side being reasonable about it from the start. So Senator Lee is trying very desperately to try and walk back his remarks over the last few days and say more reasonable things. This is why elected officials shouldn't try to do what Marjorie Taylor Greene does. Because it did work for her. She got herself a committee assignment by being a bomb thrower and building up this rabid Twitter mob. But it eventually eats you. And we've seen this over and over again. And yet here we are. So Senator Lee, my advice to you as a friend, don't put yourself in that situation. It has already, and it will continue to blow up in your face. And Mitch, I'm glad you brought that up, because it is really relevant to what we're seeing play out here. The decisions that will be made over the next 24 hours are going to be very important, and there are thousands of jobs here in Utah at stake. And yes, all of this is extremely distasteful. It's so unfortunate this happened, and that another bailout has to happen, even if the methods behind the bailout will be different. As Mitch pointed out, this fund that will be used to back these loans will be replenished through fees that are charged to the banks, but the banks get their money from us. So this isn't a taxpayer bailout directly through Congress, but at the same time, everyone else that was smarter with their money is going to have to pick up the tab for these very wealthy venture capitalists that weren't very smart with their money. And they put thousands of tech jobs at stake by being not very smart with their money. At a certain point, we have to say, maybe they're not good at this. We'll be back right after this.
He's cared and watched out for you your entire life. Even taught you how to catch a fish and swing a bat. But now that he's in his senior years, it's your turn to care for Dad. Giving your aging loved one the attention he or she needs can be challenging, which is why there's Legacy House of Logan. From bathing and dressing to help with medicine, cooking, and housekeeping, Legacy House of Logan is your extra set of hands with an extra gentle touch. On 1400 North in Logan and online at legacylogan.com.
You're in the market to buy a home and dreaming of a new home you can fill with new memories. But homes just aren't in your budget. Or are they? Visionary Homes wants you to know you don't have to buy a used home. Buy new. Buy now with Visionary Homes. As a trusted award-winning Utah home builder, Visionary Homes understands that your home is the center of your life, bringing friends and family together, creating memories you'll cherish forever. Buy new. Buy now. VisionaryHomes.com.
Visionary Homes. Spring has sprung, and so have the deals at Murdoch Volkswagen. Get ready for a season of adventure and hop behind the wheel of a brand new VW during our spring sales event. Right now, lease a new 2023 Taos SE for only $329 per month, or lock in 4.9% for 5 years on the Tiguan or Taos. When you walk through our doors, you feel like family. At Murdoch Volkswagen in Logan or online at murdochvw.com.
Call 866-628-3065 to see dealer for complete details. Offer expires 3/31/23.
The Above and Beyond Salute.
Good morning, Ben. Someone nominated you for the Above and Beyond Salute.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I understand you're a snowplow driver. How many hours have you put in this winter?
I don't even know. I've got about 60 hours this week.
Well, someone contacted us noting how you work tirelessly through the winter months for UDOT, removing snow and making sure that the roads are good and safe for all of us. And we just want to tell you thank you.
All right, appreciate it.
The Above and Beyond Salute, sponsored by Firehouse Subs on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. That is hour one in the can. Coming up in hour two, Cache County Clerk and Auditor Jess Bradfield joining us. He's got an announcement. We'll also talk about the future of the clerk's office and the